All right. Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. For Wednesday day stream. Just gonna get right into it. No music intro here today. We're just gonna... It's the last stream of the week. Nothing on Thursday, nothing on Friday. So we're gonna try to touch at least a couple games. We're gonna start with Higurashi here. I know we read Higurashi just last night. But we're gonna read some more. Because we're hurtling towards the end. Now what am I calling it? 4 or 5 more Higurashi streams, including this one, left completely, is my guess. That's what I'm sticking to. Also, I don't know, Twitch may or may not be breaking. I don't know. I was trying to even just set, like, a title for the stream or something. But I don't... It's just, like, not working, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna think about it too hard. So yeah, we're just gonna read, and then we'll switch over to another game. I don't know what the other game is going to be, though. So... We're just gonna read, probably, like, sorry if my mind seems, I got, like, a message that I was responding to during that. We'll read just, like, probably one section of Higurashi here, and then we'll see what we're feeling like. We have a couple options, obviously, but we'll see in a couple hours what we end up choosing. So let's jump right into it. Yeah, my mind is currently on other thing. Other thing, and also... I can't type. Other thing, and also Twitch probably breaking. So that's cool. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm live, but everything else might be breaking. I'm live, I'm pretty sure, but everything else might be breaking around it, which is fine. Isn't that just a metaphor for life, right? The cries of the birds and cicadas that had been ringing out until just a moment ago ceased, and a tense air filled the shrine grounds. The trees rustled, their branches and leaves swaying in a sudden breeze. Sunlight shone through the trees onto the lawn, damp from the morning dew, sparkling as though countless particles of light were dancing. It's Oka! Amidst all that, a woman dressed in Miko robes, Oka Furude, caught her breath as she held a wooden sword at the ready. Right. So, we had 2 time jumps at the very end of, like... Or no, one... Yeah, at the very end of yesterday's stream, right? We had the time jump, where then we saw young Oka. That was when Hanyu, our Hanyu here in this story, saw her child. And then at the very end, where it was like basically I think the lead up to this, what we're reading now, it said 10 years more later. So this would I would assume be like teenage Oka. Then she shuffled her feet forward and closed the gap between her and the giant tree standing tall in front of her. A hot breath of air faintly echoed from her small mouth. Oka shifted the left side of her body forward in time with those breaths, then held her left hand out and pulled the sword in her right hand back to her side, holding it as if she were drawing a bow. Also, I apologize, the name Oka is not easy to, like, be reading quickly, and I'm probably going to say it about 10 different ways throughout even just today's stream. It's not an easily repeatable name, and my mouth doesn't really move like that. My mouth barely moves, as you've known. We're part 150 or 60 something into this whole Higurashi series. We're all familiar with how bad I'm reading. I watched her with bated breath. Even so, Ouka bit her lip and stared straight ahead as though she'd forgotten I was here, and then... Stop! Ouka expelled that breath, kicked off the ground with all her might, and charged forward in one swift motion. She thrust her sword forward with that momentum, and stuck the tree trunk fiercely with all her weight behind the blow. A dry thud echoed, and the nearby birds all hurriedly took off flying in surprise. Ouka remained still for a while with her sword sticking out of the tree, but before long she heaved a breath and withdrew her sword. Then she took a hand towel from a nearby tree and wiped the sweat off her brow as she looked at me and smiled. How was that, Hanyu? I believe that is far closer to the thrust you showed me before. Oops, I fucked with the audio a little. I'll put it right there. It is true that your form is significantly improved. I shrugged with a bitter smile as I desperately hid the surprise I felt deep down. The technique Ouka just unleashed was the thrust from the Turyu Galkia pose, the one-handed thrust killer technique I developed to use against Griffiths. But I still couldn't believe it. It took me considerable time to learn this technique. I'd acquired it through repeated trial and error, including in battle, and it took so much blood, sweat, and tears before I finally got it down. Thrusting techniques are actually harder than slashing techniques. If the target is too close, the power of the thrust is greatly reduced, and if they're too far, it hurts your entire arm. Furthermore, you need the skill to keep the thrust trajectory completely straight, something extremely difficult to grasp with a real sword, much less a wooden one. So I thought it was too early for her, which is why I only demonstrated it to her a few times, never actually teaching her or letting her try it out. Yet while it was incomplete, Ouka had performed it splendidly. I just chested my mic, I just bodied it. I circled around the tree she pierced and examined the wood. The shockwaves from the thrust he carried over to the other side and popped the bark off. Truly splendid. Such skill is rare even in seasoned warriors on the front lines. You certainly went down the wrong path, Ouka. Perhaps you would have been better off striving to be a swordsmanship instructor for the feudal lord. Then will you start teaching me thrusts? Ew. Well, I suppose. But the basics are more important than techniques. You need to not get distracted by flashy moves and instead strictly adhere to what I have taught you so far. Understood? Yes, I understand, Master. Ouka held her hand to her mouth and laughed in a cute voice as clear as a bell. It had been 10 years since then. Ouka, who was still a child when I reunited with her, was now a fully grown woman. She stopped saying meep and nipa like she used to. Aww. And that's a shame. And her once tiny body was now almost as tall as mine. Come to think of it, her motions had also gained a certain luster to them. I'm sure that's because living a child brought out her charm as a woman. My daughter's already a mother, huh? Maybe older than teenage, I think I said earlier, but I guess maybe it may... I don't know. My heart suddenly welled with sentimentality. For me, it had only been 10 years, but that was more than enough time for people to change. I recalled the day we reunited. Cute little Ouka standing under the cherry blossom tree. I could remember that sight as if it were only yesterday. And now here she was, already 21 years old. There we go. Made me realize once again just how much time flies when you're having fun. On that day, I reunited with Ouka on the Furuta Shrine grounds, but truth be told, I've been planning to leave quickly. Just getting to see the old cherry blossom tree and knowing Ouka was doing well would have been enough for me. So when I happened to bump into Ouka herself by coincidence and learned she could see me, I admit I was surprised, but I no longer had any regrets. That was what I told myself before coming here, but... God, would you like to come to my house? Huh? It was little Uka's words that stopped me from leaving.
僕はずっと一人暮らしをしているのです。
I've been living on my own for a long time.
ですから、お話し相手になってくれるととても嬉しいのですよ。
So I'd be very happy to have someone to talk with.
一人暮らし
Living on your own? I was a bit surprised to hear that. Wasn't Uka supposed to have been raised by the Kimiyoshis under Shino's care?
あなた、お母さんは
What about your mother?
み、
Me?
母様も父様ももういないのです。
My mother and father have already passed.
だからこの神社は僕一人なのですよ。
That's why I live all by myself at the shrine. According to Uka, she had indeed been living with the Kimiyoshis until a short while ago, raised by Shino and her family. But after she turned 10 2 weeks ago, she told her foster parents that she'd be living by herself at Furude Shrine.
どうして
Why?
寂しくはないのですか
Aren't you lonely?
少しは寂しいのです。
A little.
でもここは母様と父様が大切にしていた場所なのです。
But my mother and father treasured this place.
だから僕がきちんと守っていこうと決めたのですよ。
So I decided to protect it.
この家を出てフルデの家で暮らす
You're going to move out and live in the Furude's house?
本気で言ってるのオーカ
Are you serious, Uka?
はいなのです。
Yes.
シノさんたちのおかげで身の回りのことはきちんとできるようになりました。
It's thanks to you and your family that I've learned how to take care of myself.
ですから僕はフルデ家の当主としてあの神社を守っていきたいのです。
So I want to protect that shrine as the head of the Furude family.
守ってってオーカあなたはまだ10歳なのよ
Uka, protect. Uka, you're still only 10 years old, you know.
それに君吉の家にいたままでも神事を取り仕切っておくことはできるはずでしょ
Besides, you should be able to carry out rituals even if you stay with us, right?
ごめんなさいなのです。
I'm really sorry,
もう決めたのですよ。
but I've made up my mind. When she saw that strong will beyond her years in Uka's eyes, even Shino couldn't refuse her and fell silent. Then she heaved a sigh and voiced a worry that suddenly came to mind.
ひょっとしてオーカこの家で暮らすのは窮屈だったの
Could it be that you found it uncomfortable living in this house?
私たちがあなたの本当の家族じゃないから
Because we're not your real family?
そんなことはないのです。
That's not true.
シノさんもリョウさんも優しくて、カズヤさんも庄司さんも僕をとても可愛がってくれました。
You and Ryu-san are kind, and Kazu-san and Shuji-san both treat me well.
僕にとってはみんな大切な家族なのです。
All of you are dear family to me.
じゃあなぜ
Then why?
人が住まなくなった家はすぐに朽ち果てると誰かから聞きました。
I heard someone say that a house left uninhabited quickly withers away.
フルデの家もすっかりボロボロになっていました。
The Furude house has already fallen into ruin. Happened a few days ago. While she was cleaning the shrine, Uka took a look inside the house she'd been born in and was rendered speechless for a while. The whole place reeked with layers of dust and spiderwebs strung across the beams, from the living room to the kitchen, and even the entryway. The paper doors were full of holes, and the house had marks of weather damage and overgrowth. The estate was in shambles. There was no signs of life anywhere, much less any specks of its former glory. Meep. She was sad. Uka had only lived there when she was a baby, so she barely remembered it. Even so, it was indeed the place where she'd lived with her parents, and a lot of memories attached to it. But after only being abandoned for a few years, it had been reduced to this. Uka couldn't get those images out of her head, even after she went home.
オーカ
Uka.
父様と母様のことはあまりはっきりと思い出すことができません。
I cannot remember my mother and father very clearly.
でもあの家の暖炉を囲みながら二人は僕を見て笑っていました。
But they smiled at me while sitting around the hearth in that house.
だからその思い出を僕は荒れ果てたところに置いておきたくないのですよ。
So I don't want to leave that memory in a ruined place. Shino gently wiped her tears with her sleeve. Uka truly was their daughter. that kindness and deep empathy were just like Riku and Hanyu's.
家のことをすべて一人でやっていくのは大変よ。
It'll be difficult to do everything in that house on your own.
多分あなたが思っている以上に
Probably more than you think.
その
More
覚悟
so
はあるの
than you think. Are you ready for that?
本当はまだ不安がいっぱいですが、できるところまで僕は頑張ってみたいのです。
Truth be told, I'm still really nervous, but I want to try doing everything I can.
お願いしますのです。
Please.
分かった。そこまでの決心なら
Alright.
もう止めません。
I won't stop you if you're that determined.
時々少女を手伝いにやるから納得がいくまでやってみなさい。
I'll have Shoji come to help from time to time, so fix it up until you're satisfied.
ありがとうなのです、シノさん。
Thank you so much, Shino.
それから辛くなったり寂しくなったりしたらいつでも遠慮なく帰ってきなさい。
And if it ever gets painful or lonely, come back here whenever you'd like.
あなたはフルデ家の当主。
You're the head of the Furude family.
でも間違いなく君吉家の一員で私の可愛い娘なんですからね。
But you are undoubtedly a member of the Kimiyoshi family, and my beloved daughter.
はいなのです。
Yes! Yes. I felt something hot welling in my eyes from her resolve. Not only had she not forgotten us, she treasured her memories with us even at her age. What a kind and strong-willed girl. I looked up at the sky as my heart welled with pride and love, as I desperately held back the tears that threatened to burst free. If I could, I'd want to tell her right here now that I was her mother. If that was impossible, then I would at least want to embrace her small body. But I could no longer.
神様、
God? Huh?
どうかしたのですか？
Is something the matter? Oka said that and looked at me with bleary eyes. She cocked her head adorably, like a baby animal. Just seeing that face wrenched my heart, and I almost forgot to even breathe. And when I quickly looked away from her, Oka tilted her head again, confused by my reaction, and brought her face even closer. What?
どうしたのですか？神様。
Is something wrong, God?
いえ
No.
まるで怯えた猫さんみたいなのです。
You're like a... Excuse me, you're like a scared cat.
ニパ
Meow, meow, nipa.
別にそんなことは。
That's not... True. There's no way that should be true. Deep down, maybe I was scared. At having to face my guilt for abandoning Uka, and the foolishness of my actions. Regardless of how it happened, I left Uka in Shino's hands and left this village. That fact wouldn't change. That guilt and remorse still tormented me and tore at my heart. I had no right to stand in front of her after all this time. That was why I should leave this place quickly. And yet, my legs wouldn't move. I couldn't do it. Unable to resist the desire to look at her cute face a little longer, couldn't bring myself to say goodbye to her.
では、決まりなのです。
Then it's settled.
僕の家はこっちなのです。
My house is over here.
中でお話ししましょうなのですよ。ニパ
Let's talk inside, Nippa! After saying that, Uka took my hand. It was so small and pale. Though she shouldn't have been all that strong, I could feel through her grip how she didn't want me to leave.
温かい。
It's warm. The warmth I'd forgotten over 10 years seeped into my hand. When I noticed that sensation, I gently gripped her hand back.
ニパ
Nippa! Perhaps pleased that I'd reciprocated, Uka grinned from ear to ear and skipped as though dancing. She really is the cute girl I'd always imagined her to be. And...
ところで神様
By the way, God?
ああ、はい。
Huh? Yes? I couldn't quite tell if she was referring to me, but I responded to be safe. Then Uka looked at me with wide eyes and tilted her head as if she asked a question.
神様は神様というお名前なのですか？
Tell me, God, is God your name?
いえ、違います。
Huh? No, it isn't.
だったらお社様がお名前なのですか？
Then is your name Oyashiro-sama?
皆からはそう呼ばれています。
That is what everyone calls me.
でも、それは名前では。
But that is not my name.
み
That's not my
で
name.
は何というお名前なのですか？
Meep, meep. Then what is it? I was bewildered by her sudden question and found myself at a loss for an answer. I couldn't very well tell her I was Hanyu. Uka should know that was her mother's name. But her mother had died 10 years ago. So if I told her here now that I was her mother, I'd have to reveal the secrets of her birth that were best left unknown.
それに
Besides, in the first place, I abandoned any right I had to call myself a mother on that day. Someone as heartless and irresponsible as that had no place calling herself a mother. So my current name was
ハイリウンイエアソムールジェダ
Hairyun Yisumujida.
それが私の名前です
That is my name. After leaving Uka and the village behind, I had once again lived for my duty, exterminating demonified Griffiths. The name I had once abandoned was perfectly apt for who I was now.
はい竜
Me, Hairyun,
ハイリウンイエアソムールジェダです
Hairyun Yisumujida.
言いづらいお名前なのですよ。
That's hard to say. I agree. It is
もっ
hard
と
to say.
簡単なお名前になりませんのですか？
Don't you have any simpler names than that? Oka kept holding her hand as she kept awkwardly trying to say the name she'd heard, but she furrowed her brow and frowned when she couldn't do it. That sight overlapped with something I'd seen before, of something that happened at the mountain spring I'd bathed in. That moment when he gave me my new name. It was a nostalgic and very painful memory. Seriously, why? Why wasn't I kinder to him? Why couldn't I have been more true to myself?
いいことを思いつきました。
Me, I've got a good idea. Huh? Just then, Uka, who'd been racking her brain for a while, suddenly gave me a huge grin and looked up again. I suddenly got deja vu of that day I first met Riku. Uka's smile was so like his that I gasped for a moment.
羽生
Hanyu! Oh,
羽生と呼んでもいいですか？
may I call you Hanyu?
神様のお名前ととても似ているのです。
I think it's a very fitting name for a god.
僕の一番大切な人の名前なのですよ。
It's the name of the most important person to me.
私が羽生
I'm Hanyu?
そうなのです。
That's right.
よろしくなのですよ。羽生
Pleased to meet you, Hanyu. Nippa. Oka called me Hanyu with a smile. Drawn in by her smile, I found myself unable to refuse or do anything but fall silent. In the 10 years I've been separated from Uka, constantly hunted demonified Griffiths without rest. In the midst of that, I resented irrationality. I'd had a hatred that never died down. And as a result, no matter how much I fought and swung my sword, it never healed the void of sorrow and loneliness in my heart. The reason I decided to return to Onikafuchi village was because my heart and body were exhausted. That was why Uka's words were so precious and luscious to me. And so, I accepted them, knowing I'd surely come to regret it. That was how Uka started calling me Hanyu. She had no idea that I was her mother, nor did she ever need to know. Or maybe she knows and she's just not letting you know that she knows. Maybe. Phew. I reflected on my memories as I suddenly sat down on a stone in the garden and looked up at the sky. There wasn't a cloud to be found anywhere. Truly early summer weather. The lush trees rustled and swayed in a cool breeze. Sunlight shining down on the garden was so warm and comfortable that it almost made it seem like a waste that it would soon be the rainy season. Ever since that day, I had been staying at Fude Shrine, living in the ritual storehouse a short distance away from the shrine. It was dark and barren, but as long as I had old bedding, it was enough for me.
それに何よりも
And above all else, I honestly didn't really want to go to the Fude house, especially not inside. There were so many happy memories in that place that I doubted I could spend time there in peace. For the time being, Uka had approved of me living in the ritual storehouse without asking many questions. Thus, I've been staying there all the way up until today in total secrecy from the villagers. However, it's not to say I spent those 10 years peacefully. I hadn't forgotten to investigate rumored Griffith sightings and fulfill my duty. Griffith's activity had forcibly decreased after I defeated that Putus, but there still caused disturbances in various places from time to time. There truly was no end in sight for any of it, but there were indeed lives and livelihoods that had been saved thanks to my actions. It was with that thought I continued fighting them and hunting down those disasters. I'd inform Uka every time I left, and go see her right away when I returned. That was the one tradition I never neglected. Afterwards, I'd stay for a while, talk with her, train her in the sword, give her advice on all sorts of topics. Even after Uka grew up, married the man she loved, and had a family. Our routine had barely changed to this day. Fortunately, I hadn't had to leave in the last few years, so I met with Uka practically every day and spent my time in the village in relative peace. But still, to think Uka would end up marrying Shion's son. Nope, not Shion, Shino. But still, to think Uka would end up marrying Shino's son, fate's design sure had a sense of humor. Come to think of it, there was something Shino said not too long after Uka was born.
桜花が成長したら絶対うちの息子と結婚させましょうね。
Once Uka grows up, let's have her marry one of my sons.
そうすればこの子は私の娘ってことになるんでしょ。
Then that would make her my daughter, wouldn't it?
ええ、まあ。
Yes, I suppose.
よし決まり。
Alright, then it's settled.
実はね、前からずっと女の子が欲しかったのよ、私は。
Truth be told, I've always wanted a girl.
今から楽しみだな。
I can't wait.
楽しみってまだずっと先の話ですよ。
Can't wait. It's still a long time off, right?
まったく気が早いというかなんというか。
I swear, talk about getting way ahead of yourself.
ん？文句あるの？
Huh? Got a problem with that?
ありません。
No, ma'am. Back then, I was so sure she'd just been joking. Despite that, Shino kept her word. She let her younger son, Shoji, marry Oka and change his surname to Furude. The Furude family wouldn't die out. That was a sign of her own resolve to protect me and Riku's legacy.
ありがとう、シノ。
Thank you, Shino. Ouka gained a family thanks to Shino. Then she had her daughter Fuka, and discovered the joy of being a mother. Fuka. Unfortunately, neither Shoji nor Fuka could see me even when I was in physical form. Even so, just being able to talk to Uka like this was fun enough for me. And I was undeniably happy.
どうしたの？羽生？
What's wrong, Hanyu? Huh? I turned toward that voice to find Uka sitting next to me and looking at my face. Her dark eyes were round and wide. Seeing how those eyes somewhat resembled his, I felt my heart wrench a little.
何か考え事？
Something on your mind?
急に黙り込んで。
You suddenly went quiet.
ええ、ちょっとね。
Yes, you could say that. I mumbled as I looked away from Uka as naturally as possible. Even though it'd been 10 years, I still couldn't look her in the eyes. There was a part of me that couldn't shake it off. I was always telling myself that I'd have to get over it someday, but...
ねえ、羽生。
Say, Hanyu?
何ですか？
Yes?
本当にありがとうね。
Thank you so much.
どうしたのですか？急に。
Where's this coming from?
剣術よ、剣術。
I'm talking about the swordsmanship training.
ずいぶん無理を言って教えを請うてしまったからね。
I really pestered you to teach me it, didn't I?
羽生も本当は乗り気ではなかったのでしょ。
And you didn't really want to do it, right?
そうですね。
That's true.
あまり人に教えることには慣れていませんでしたから。
I wasn't very used to teaching after all. It happened one day a while after I met Ouka. I took a sword to get my body back into shape and trained in the forest behind the shrine. Ouka happened to be there picking firewood, so I showed her a sword dance on a whim, but she really liked that and bowed her head, asking me to teach her too.
ダメなのですか？
You can't?
いえ、ダメというわけではないのですが。
No, that isn't the issue.
お願いなのです。
Please?
神社に泥棒が入らないように僕も剣術を学んでおきたいのですよ。
I want to learn the way of the sword too, so no bandits get in the shrine. How could you say no to that face? Honestly, I wasn't very enthused about the idea, but just as Uka said, there was no guarantee a thief wouldn't break into the shrine and hurt her.
私がそこに居合わせていたら、もちろん切り刻んでやるが。
Though I'd chop them to bits if I were around, naturally. But unfortunately, there were times when I wasn't in Onikifuchi village, so reluctantly I promised to teach Uka the bare minimum she needed to know it to protect herself.
懐かしいですね。
It sure brings back memories.
それにしても、 桜花があれほどに強く剣術を覚えたいと望むとは思わなかったので、正直ちょっと意外でした。
But still, to be honest, I never thought you'd be so interested in learning the way of the sword, so I was a little surprised.
そうね。
That's no surprise.
剣術は神社を祀って祭事を取り仕切る神職には似合わないものだから。
Swordsmanship and the priesthood don't exactly go hand in hand.
そう思われても当然だわ。
It's only natural you'd feel that way.
それに最初はただの気まぐれだと思っていました。
And what's more, I thought it was merely a whim at first.
ですから修練もきっと長くは続かないだろうと高をくくっていたのですが。
So I assumed you wouldn't be able to keep up the training for long.
それはあなたの見込み違いね。
It was a miscalculation on your part, wasn't it?
私はいい加減な気持ちで何かを欲しがるようにはしつけられていないの。
I was disciplined not to want things unless I was absolutely serious about them.
そして教わるからには教わった相手にも恥ずかしくないくらいに極みを目指す。
And I strive
そ
for
れが私の信条よ。
only the greatest heights so I don't embarrass my teachers. That's my creed.
ですね。
Indeed.
まったくあなたの一途さには驚かされます。
I swear, your earnestness always surprises me. I smiled bitterly and shrugged. Did she get that strong will from Shino's parenting or Riku's blood?
それに
And what's more, it was completely unexpected. I never thought Uka would learn even the Tsuryu Galkia. It had been roughly 10 years since Uka started training in the ways of the sword. That was a long time for the relatively short-lived humans, so it was no surprise she'd be so skilled. However, the Tsuryu Galkia was essentially an anti-Griffiths sword technique, as well as the greatest skill I had developed after much diligence as a jihad to defeat a Griffiths in a single strike. That just went to show how powerful it was. With it, even a woman could pierce steel, but the recoil and impact of the body's joints when it was unleashed were nothing to scoff at. Done poorly, not only would it hurt your muscles, it would also break your joints and bones. Truly a double-edged sword. The reason I was able to pull it off was because I trained my body in combat ever since I was little. Above all else, the natural genetic characteristics possessed by Ryun were a major factor.
だからこそ人間桜花には習得は無理だと思っていたのだけど。
That's why I thought it was impossible for a human, for Uka to learn it. But while Uka's Tsuryu Galkia was indeed rough and raw, her movements and posture were accurate. If she could do that much from simply imitating what she'd seen, then what I felt wasn't amazement or astonishment, but rather something akin to feeling threatened.
これもしか。
Is this also blood? A strength and flexibility that ordinary humans could not possess. Uka had certainly inherited that characteristic of Ryun and Putus. How ironic. She can see me even though I should be invisible from the damage done to my physical structure. She has a talent for the sword beyond a natural. The longer I spend time with Uka, the more I can't help but be reminded that she's inherited my abominable inhuman blood. Abominable, not abdominal. My bad. Though Uka herself hasn't realized it, nor has anyone else. If possible, I hope she can keep living peacefully, with that truth left unknown to everyone.
そういえば桜花、
Incidentally, Uka.
何？
Yes?
今までははっきりとは聞いてきませんでしたが、なぜ桜花は剣を習いたいと思ったのですか？
I've never gotten a clear answer so far, but why did you want to learn the ways of the sword?
理由？
Huh? Why?
はい、以前あなたからは泥棒よけのためと聞きましたが、実際のところそれがあなたの本心とは思えないのです。
Yes. Previously you told me it was to ward off thieves, but I don't believe that was your real reason.
ですから私はその本当の理由は何なのかずっと今日まで考えてきました。
So I've always wondered what the truth was. But I couldn't figure out the reason no matter how hard I thought about it. The 10-year period where Shino raised Uka while I hunted Griffiths is a complete blank to me. So I can't deny the possibility that there was some sort of trigger, some sort of influence in that time period that could have given her an interest in swordsmanship. But though I've tried observing Uka's words and actions in our infrequent encounters, she doesn't strike me as the type who seeks to pick fights. She's a little mischievous and speaks in a manner beyond her years, but she's actually a quite spoiled yet kinda gentle girl. Those aspects of her were much like Riku, and thus didn't translate into having a strong interest in swordsmanship.
それに
Besides, her Ryun blood aside, the reason she'd improved so much was likely the result of her training on a daily basis. She probably kept it up even when I wasn't around to teach her. She was diligent like that. In that case, just what was it that made her so diligent?
そうね。 実は
Well, truth is,
実は
yes. Just then, Uka turned to me with a serious expression.
剣の達人の巫女さんってなんだか素敵でしょ？
Doesn't a sword-wielding Miko sound badass? So true! What? What she uttered was an unbelievably silly reason. What? I toppled right onto the ground and got up with a hysteric shout. But Uka paid my reaction no heed and helped me up, her eyes sparkling like precious gemstones as she gazed up at the very heavens.
だって考えてもみてよ、羽生。
Just think about it, Hanyu.
白と赤の衣装は清純の証。いわば裏若き乙女の代名詞ってやつでしょ？
White and red outfits are proof of purity. In other words, they're synonymous with youthful maidens, right?
そして身を清め、精神を鎮めて神に仕えることができるのは数ある女子の中でもほんの一握り。
And the only ones who can purify themselves, clear their minds, and serve the gods are a select few women, even those among a few.
だからこそあまたの男子は神の名代を務めることのできる巫女さんに畏敬を抱き、そして同型を持つの。
That is why so many boys respect and yearn for those Mikos who can act as their gods' representatives.
そうでしょ？
Isn't that right?
はあは
そして
And that's not all.
そんな男子の憧れたる巫女が白銀の剣を振るい、襲い来る鬼どもをバッタバッタと切り倒していくの。
Imagine that Miko, the object of those boys' desires, wielding a sword and cutting down all the demons who come attacking.
紅白の装束と黒い長髪が宙を舞い、勇ましさと清らかさを併せ持つその姿はまさに女神。
With her red and white outfit and dark hair fluttering in the wind, that gallant and pure figure is truly that of a goddess.
すべての人を極楽浄土へと導く麗しき存在なの。
They are the beautiful entities who guide all humans to the pure land.
ね、そう思わない？
Right? Don't you agree?
その正直そう思わなくもないとも言えなくもないと断言したくない。
Honestly, I do not want to declare that I cannot for sure deny to say that I do not think the same. Good way of putting it.
今でも思い出すわ。朝露が草場から滴り落ちる早朝、しんと静まり返った林の中で羽生が見せてくれたあの剣の舞の華麗な姿を。
I still remember it even now, the beautiful sight of you showing me that sword dance in the silent forest, damp with the morning dew.
あの時、
Oh boy.
私は幼心に思ったの。
That scene inspired my young self.
これこそ私の将来目指すべき巫女のあり方。
It showed me that was the ideal Miko I should strive to be.
そう、神に仕える乙女の最終形態なんだって。
That's right, the final form of a maiden who serves the gods.
見せたのではなく、あなたが勝手に見たのでしょうが。
I didn't show it to you, you just watched all by yourself. Oka completely ignored that utterly exasperated and unamused utterance from me as she went on and on. She was already off on her own little world. She was a wild horse who couldn't be stopped. Riku, why? Why did you have to pass those dumbass tastes of yours on to our daughter? My head hurt, like it was going to burst. That does it. I swear, right here, right now, that when my life comes to an end and I meet Riku again in the Pure Land, I'll be sure to slug him a good one first before I rejoice at our reunion. Just then. Huh?
なんてね、
Yeah, right.
嘘に決まっているでしょ。
Of course. I was lying.
全部冗談よ。
It was all a joke.
嘘？冗談？
A lie? A joke? I was dumbfounded when I heard her. She was just kidding?
そうか。
Uka?
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry.
私の父様、こういう変なところがあったってシノさんが前に教えてくれたから。
Shino-san told me that my father had an odd sight like that, or an odd side like that.
どう？ 雰囲気出ていた？
How did I do? Was it a good impression?
悪趣味です。
That was a sick joke. I held my head in disgust. Seriously, what a sick joke. I have such a bone to pick with her father and the woman who raised her now. I don't think those are my genes at work. Probably. Still though, Oka truly is terrifying to just brazenly make a joke like that to a god like me. Despite all appearances, she's a bold girl. Come to think of it, Riku was like that too. He would goad me and tease me even though he knew all he'd get was a beating from me. In hindsight, that was probably him trying to be considerate of getting me used to his everyday life, since I wasn't used to conversation. I dug up those annoying but fun memories as I heaved a small sigh. When she saw that, Uka rolled on the ground, laughing without the slightest hint of guilt.
仕方のない人ですね。
You truly are hopeless. She really did love pranks. Perhaps you could see it in a sense as a cute personality that hadn't forgotten her childish spirit, but it wasn't fun to be on the receiving end of it. However, perhaps because she'd also inherited that from Riku, Uka had a mysterious aura that allowed me to forgive that. She would stir up trouble while always ending it on a good note. It was a positive trait.
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry,
でも、かっこいいと思ったのは本当よ。
but it is true that I thought it was cool.
あなたの剣の腕、本当に素敵で、声をかけるのも忘れるくらいに、あの時は見とれてしまった。
Your sword skills truly are magnificent. I was so taken by them back then that I forgot to even speak.
そうですか。
I see.
それに、今思えば、とても子供っぽい理由なんだけど。
And, in hindsight, it's a very childish reason, but... Uka stopped laughing and talking. She stared off into the distance as if looking at something she couldn't reach. A gust of wind blew through the shrine grounds. Hot air, full of the characteristic stench of grass, caressed our skin as it blew past us. Just what was Uka looking at? I tried to figure that out, but Uka looked back at me before I could determine it.
本当は強くなりたかったの。
In all honesty, I wanted to get strong. Huh?
自分や誰かの命を守る力という意味じゃなく、強い心を持つというか、自分を信じられる支えがね。
Not the kind of strength you use to protect yourself and others, but to have a strong heart, to have the support to believe in myself.
そして父様と母様が命がけで守ったこの村のために、自分にも何かができるという自信と手応えを私は手に入れたかったの。
And I wanted to obtain the confidence and sense that I could do something for the village that my mother and father gave their lives to protect.
自信と手応え？
The confidence and sense?
ええ。
Yes.
私の父様と母様のこと、シノさんはいつも言っていた。
Shino-san always talks about my mother and father.
すごく立派で尊敬に値する人だったって。
She says they were wonderful people worthy of respect.
村のみんなを守るために命を賭して鬼と戦って、そして
They risked their lives fighting demons to protect everyone in the village, and then...
私二人のことを本当に尊敬しているのよ。
I really respect the both of them.
そうなんですか。
Is that right? I gave an ambiguous response as I suppressed the mixed feelings in my chest. The story Uka had been told by everyone was a mix of lies and hidden truths. The reason I left the village and had to fight the demon wasn't to protect the village. It was all to protect Riku and Uka, as well as to reclaim our peaceful lives. And Riku also. But if she learned that truth, Uka would likely come to hate the villagers who'd driven her parents out. Then she'd question her own birth and possibly agonize over her own existence. I'm sure Shino and the villagers had that in mind when they hid the truth from her.
だから私も父様と母様と同じようにこの村を守ることのできる人間でありたいの。
So I want to be someone who can protect this village, just like my mother and father.
そして万が一この村で大変なことが起きた時には、それに対応できるような力を手に入れておきたい。
And I want the strength to handle any crisis that may befall this village.
それが二人の子として生まれてフルでの家を継いだ 私の務めなんじゃないかなってね。
I believe that is my duty as their daughter and the successor of the Furude family.
王か、それは。
Okay, that's...
ええ、分かっているわ。
Yes, I know.
おかしいよね。村の人たちが私に求めているのは、本当はそんなことじゃない。
It's strange, isn't it? I know that's not what the villagers actually want of me.
この神社を守って、お社様を立てまつってゆくことが、私の本来の仕事。
My primary role is protecting the shrine and revering Oishiro-sama.
それなのに、見好みで剣術なんて、お母様に聞かれたら、きっと怒られちゃうわね。
So I'm sure Shino-san would scold me if she ever had heard Amiko was practicing swordsmanship. I just looked back at Ouka's face, unable to give her a straightforward answer. She was smiling, but her eyes were staring off into space.
王かはご両親のことを覚えているのですか？
Do you remember your parents, Ouka?
ううん。実は全然。
No, not at all, actually.
おぼろげどころか、抱かれた感触も、甘えた記憶もまるでないわ。
I have practically no memories of them holding me or taking care of me.
でも、
But... Ouka spoke. She told me that the more she came to understand she was the daughter of the village's saviors, the more she respected their greatness, but also grew to feel inferior to them from time to time. The two of them were worshipped beyond reverence by the villagers, so their daughter and everything about their family was the subject of everyone's adoration. And so, since it was a child's duty to bury and revere their parents, she protected the shrine where their tombs lay, and fulfilled her holy duties since she was a child. However, was that alone really enough? The more grateful she became of the villagers' kindness, the more she couldn't help but ask herself that question. Just what should I do to live up to the villagers' hopes? What can I do to not embarrass myself as the daughter of the village idols? Almost said village idiots. Village idols, and the conclusion she'd reached was to obtain the strength to exterminate demons and save the villagers, just like her parents.
王か。
Ouka. I gripped my collar, desperately resisting the urge to hug her right then and there. The glimpse I got of the loneliness Ouka had felt, never knowing her parents, was so sad it broke my heart. To protect the village, and to achieve the strength to be respected in the same way her parents had, and to fulfill her duty, I realized she didn't just mean it as she said, but contained emotions even she herself wasn't aware of. Right. In there was a sense of anxiety she felt about her own existence. By learning swordsmanship, symbol of strength, she wanted proof of her bond with us, that she truly was the daughter of the two the villagers respected and deified. Since her parents were so amazing, she probably believed she didn't have the right to call herself their daughter unless she was the same. That reminded so much of myself when I struggled with the meaning of my existence as a Ryun and devoted myself to my duty as a Jita as a result. Painfully so.
そうだ。
That's right. I suddenly remembered something. Back when Ouka had left the Kimiyoshi house and started living on her own, she said she wanted to protect her memories with her parents. Back then, I'd been deeply touched by what a kind girl she was, but now my heart bled for another reason. Ouka was surely lonely. As the successor of the Furude family, the symbol of the village, as the inheritor of the blood of the heroes who protected the village, the more she became aware of that, the more Ouka desired to establish her own strength and personal meaning of existence, and awoke to her sense of self. So that everyone in Onigafuchi village would acknowledge her not as the Furude daughter or the daughter of heroes, but as Ouka Furude herself.
王か。
Ouka.
何？
Yes?
ご両親の意志を引き継いで尊敬される姿に近づこうと努力することはとても素晴らしいと思います。
I think it is very admirable to inherit your parents' legacy and work towards living up to your image of them.
でもあなたはあなたです。
But you are you.
他の何者でもありません。
No one else.
だからあまり理想にとらわれすぎなくても別にいいのですよ。
So you don't have to get so caught up in chasing ideals, alright? Huh? Ouka's eyes widened, and her smile faintly clouded over. Her eyes were full of confusion and bewilderment. That was likely the first time anyone had told her that, but I couldn't leave it unsaid. It looked to me that Ouka idealized her parents so much that she was putting way too much pressure on herself.
理想にとらわれている。
I-
私が
I'm caught up in chasing ideals?
ええ。 王家、あなたは優しい人です。
Yes, you are a kind person, Uka.
そしてとても真面目な人だと私は思います。
And I believe you are also very diligent.
ご両親の意志を継ぐために幼い頃から神社を一人で守ろうとしたり、厳しい稽古にも耐えてきたりしたその姿勢は誰にでもできることではありません。
Trying to protect the shrine from a young age to protect your parents' legacy and enduring harsh training is not something anyone can do.
でもだからといってあなたがご両親のようになれるのかと問われれば、私はきっといいなと答えます。
But even so, if you were to ask me if I think you could be like your parents, I would definitely say no.
どれだけ努力してもあなたはご両親に近づくことはできても追いつくことは不可能です。
No matter how hard you try, it is impossible to catch up to your parents no matter how close you may get.
それは私には才能がないってこと？
Are you saying I have no talent?
いいえ、違います。
No, that's wrong.
個性の問題です。
It is a matter of individuality.
あなたの今進んでいる道はご両親と同じ方角を向いていても同じ道ではない。
The road you're taking right now may be headed in the same direction as your parents, but it is not the same road.
そもそも育った環境や生まれ持った価値観が違うのですから当然のことでしょ。
But the environment you were raised in and the sense of values you were born with are different, so that is only natural, isn't it? Just as Ouko was starting to look a little displeased, her eyes widened with a gasp. I continued when I saw that.
誰もあなたのご両親にはなれない。
No one can be your parents,
そして誰もあなたには決してなれない。
and no one can ever be you.
それが個性というものです。
That is what it means to be an individual.
故にフルで王家という存在はこの世界にたった一つしかありえない。
Therefore, there can only be one Uka Furude in this world.
そう、あなただけがフルで王家なのですよ。
That's right. You, and you alone are Uka Furude.
王家、
Uka.
ご両親を尊敬し理想とするのも確かに素晴らしいことです。
It is indeed wonderful that you respect and idealize your parents.
しかしそれと同一のものにはなれないし、またその必要もありません。
But you can never be exactly the same as them, and you do not need to.
あなたはフルデ家の跡取りでもなく偉大だったご両親の娘でもなく、
You should
フ
make
ルで王家としての生き方を今まで通り一生懸命貫いていけばいい。
You should make every effort to live the way you have up until now, not as the successor to the Furude family, nor the daughter of your renowned parents, but as Uka Furude.
そしてそんな生き方こそがあなたのご両親が望んでいたことだと私は思いますよ。
And I believe that is the way your parents would have wished for you to live your life.
フルで王家の生き方。
Live as Uka Furude?
そうです。
That is right.
あなた自身あまり気づいていないかもしれないからあえて言わせてもらいますが、
You may not have realized it yourself, so I'll just come out and say it.
たとえ立派なご両親の意向があったとしても、あなた自身が取るに足りない村人たちの期待に背くような人間であれば、現在のように信望を得る存在ではなかったはずです。
If you were someone who didn't live up to the task or meet the villagers' expectations, you would not be the celebrated person you are now, even with the prestige of your respectable parents.
でもその度合いや加減は人それぞれの見解だとしても、あなたは今なお村人たちから一目置かれる存在としてあり続けている。
But even if the extent of it varies from person to person, you continue to be someone the villagers look up to.
これは素晴らしいことではありませんか？
Wouldn't you say that is a wonderful thing?
そんなこと。
That's not... Oka bashfully blushed and looked away. She probably didn't have much experience with being complimented this way. Seeing that simple and honest reaction out of her warmed my heart.
私はただ父様や母様に恥ずかしくないように、みんなの期待や希望に添えるようにって 思っていただけだから。
All I did was simply in order to not embarrass my parents and live up to everyone's hopes and expectations.
それに応えるだけで精一杯で、全然素晴らしくなんかない。
It took everything I had just to do that. I wasn't wonderful at all.
それどころか、もっと優しくしておけばとか、気を利かして動いていればとか思って後悔することもすごく多いの。
Far from it. I would think about how I should have been nicer or acted with more tact. There's a lot I regret.
だからみんなが私のことを好意的に思ってくれていることが時々申し訳なくて。
So I sometimes feel unworthy of all the favor the villagers show me.
それが優しいということです。
That is what it means to be kind.
普通の人は後で悔やむことすらありませんから。
Normally people wouldn't even regret anything later. Huh?
そうやって常に反省しながら理想を追い求める。
You constantly regret that you've done while seeking your ideal. You constantly regret what you've done while seeking your ideal. Yeah.
それが素晴らしいことだと私は思います。
I think that's a wonderful thing.
そしてどんなに周囲の期待に従った言動であったとしても、それを選択してきたのは間違いなくあなたの意志。
And no matter how many times you may have acted in accordance with others' expectations, it was unquestionably you who made those decisions.
だからあなたは今までの自分を存分に誇ってもいいのですよ。
So you should be very proud of who you have been so far.
羽生、
Hanyu. Faint specks of tears welled into Uka's eyes as she ruminated on what I'd said, silently looking at her folded hands. In her face was a hint of relief, and
じゃあ私は今のままでいいのかな。
then is it alright for me to stay the way I am?
きっとあなたの優しさがいつかみんなの幸せのために役立てる日が来ると思います。
I believe a day will surely come where your kindness will play a part in making everyone happy.
それが何なのかはまだわかりませんが、その時のためにあなたはあなた自身の生き方や考え方に自信を持っておくことです。
I still don't know what that will be, but I have confidence in the way you live and think when that time comes.
きっとそれがご両親の望みだと。誰が何と言おうとも私は信じています。
And no matter what anyone else says, I believe that is what your parents would have surely wanted.
ありがとう、羽生。
Thank you, Hanyu. Oka heaved a deep sigh, smiled. Though her smiles had always been beautiful, the smile had a refreshing shine to it, like a clear sky vanquished of all clouds.
本当に私はあなたと会えてよかったわ。
I really am glad I met you.
いろんな人に優しくしてもらってきたけれど、こんな風に言ってくれる人今までいなかったもの。
Many people are nice to me, but no one has talked to me like this up until now.
そうか。
Oka.
もちろん私も行けなかったんだけどね。
Of course, I'm at fault too.
みんなの理想に応えようとして無意識のうちに肩肘張っていたような気がするわ。
I feel like I unconsciously tried to act tough in order to live up to everyone's ideal.
だから変に気を使われて、私は間違いに気づく機会を失っていたのかもしれない。
So perhaps they all showed me awkward consideration, which made me lose my chance to notice my mistake. Everyone was kind to Uka, and she was always trying to be kind to them. However, an environment like that didn't give her any opportunities to open her heart to anyone, or anyone to point out when she took a wrong turn. Deep down, she too wanted to confess her worries, get opinions about her own actions, no matter how trifling, and find peace of mind in the process. She constantly thought about how she wanted someone who would be honest with her, someone who would correct her mistakes and clear her doubts.
あなたは私にとっては本当に大切な人。
You truly are dear to me.
まるでそう母様のようにね。
It's like, yes, you're like a mother to me. Oh, my heart.
ありがとう羽生。
Thank you, Hanyu,
私のそばにいてくれて。
for being there for me.
いえ、
You're welcome. Put me in the camp of people that just feels like Hanyu should say, like, yeah, you know what? I get why her trepidation, and like, oh, I can't let her know that I'm the mother that kind of failed her kind of thing. I think it's kind of bullshit. Just fucking reveal yourself to her. I'm sure at some point in this story we're gonna get that, but just tell her. Mother. What a joyful and sad word. Something warm welled from the depths of my heart and threatened to spill from the corners of my eyes. No, I can't cry. I don't have that right. Even so, a single word. Even though all I'd heard was a single word. It felt like it would cause my supposed heart of stone to crumble to pieces.
Ne, Hanyu?
Hey, Hanyu?
何ですか、Oka?
What is it, Oka? Something touched my left hand. I looked to find it was Oka's right hand, covering me with a palm as warm as the sunlight.
これからも私と一緒にいてくれる？
Will you continue to stay with me?
はい。もちろんです。
Yes, of course. I placed my right hand atop her own and firmly gripped it. I didn't want to let go of this happiness, so I held what was important to me. But at the same time, I was disgusted with myself for how utterly weak my heart and strength of will were.
何をやっているのだ、私は。
What am I even doing? Just who was it who played dead and left their daughter behind in the village? For what purpose did I wish for my daughter to grow up healthy while I stepped aside and accepted everything about being a demon? Here Uka was, bearing her heart and soul to me, and I still couldn't confess the most important truth. So in spite of that, why was I doing something that would stir up havoc, just when everything seemed to be going perfectly in her life? My logic and conscience mercilessly tormented my foolishness. No matter how old I got, I was as insatiable as ever, even though I was always afraid that might make things more miserable.
だけど、私は。
But no matter what form it took, I wanted my life with my beloved daughter to never end. That was all I wanted. The cloudy sky looked like it would start falling any minute. I frowned at the humidity and turned into my astral form. There was no question that it would start raining soon. I didn't have to worry about getting wet in my astral form, but rain dampened my spatial awareness, so I normally didn't take walks in it.
とはいえ、Okaがこの天気に気づいているかどうか。
That said, who knows if Oka has noticed this weather or not? It was with that thought I stopped my sword training, left the forest, and went down the animal trails that led further in. Then, before returning to the ritual storehouse, decided to take the road that passed right by the Frude estate. Oka had left the laundry out to dry this morning, so I decided I'd let her know about the incoming rain just to be safe. Oddly enough, Uka was very dull when it came to changes in the weather for some reason. As a child, I would frequently see her getting depressed for not having noticing rain on a day she left the laundry out, ruining her clothes. I tried warning her many times, yet this was the one aspect she never showed any sign of improvement in. I wonder why.
まあ、いいのだけど。
Oh well, not that it matters. Even if she wasn't sensitive to the weather, it didn't seem like any real cause of concern to me. In fact, it was rather charming that she had a clumsy side like that. And besides, I enjoyed helping her out with little things such as this, like her mother. Like a mother.
そういえば。
Oh, come to think of it. I suddenly remembered my conversation with Uka yesterday. According to her, her husband Shoji, who had been away from the Frude home for a while, was finally returning from the school by the castle. Shoji was a very sincere man who valued family, much like his mother Shino, and Uka, who'd originally grown up with him like a sister, was naturally very close to him. But recently, he had frequently been absent from Onigafuchi because he was studying agriculture under her grandfather, Riku's father. Plus, he left the shrine in the care of Uka and their daughter Fuuka. This would be the first time the whole family would be together in months, and so all three of them would be in lively spirits, thus making it likely Uka wouldn't notice the rain. Though it might make a funny conversation topic if she screws up and panics over her mistake. I unconsciously smiled at the thought of Uka and her family making a ruckus together. After walking for a while, I could see the exit of the forest. The estate would be just a stone's throw away once I got through there. All I had to do was then talk to Uka and seek her and get her to take down the laundry. It was with that thought I headed into the Frude garden and checked if anyone was there. Just then...
そうね。
That's right. I suddenly heard a voice off in the distance.
誰？
Who is it? Curious, I focused hard and looked around. If the voice had been coming from inside the house, it would have been one of Oka's family members, but the person sounded like they'd come from somewhere farther away.
じゃあ境内から
The shrine grounds, then? As if to confirm that, I heard a voice coming from the small patch that led to the shrine grounds, or path. It seemed like there were two talking. Both sounded like women. I maintained my astral body as I headed in the direction of the voices. The closer I got, the clearer I could hear the voices. Both of them belonged to people I knew well. One of them was Oka, of course, and the other was...
あの声は
that voice. I spontaneously sped up and quickly arrived right before the shrine grounds. Then I hid behind a thicket and peeked out from the edge of the shrine grounds over to the gate. Two women were facing each other in front of the gate and talking. Didn't even need to strain my eyes to make out the familiar red and white outfit on the first one. And she was talking to...
やはりシノか
I knew it. Shino. Shino Kimiyoshi, me and Riku's irreplaceable friend and now Oka's mother-in-law. Her features were the same despite how much time had passed. However, perhaps due to the exhaustion that came with 20 years of responsibility, faint wrinkles were carved into her forehead and cheeks. From what Oka had told me, since her husband the mayor was in poor health, Shino had tentatively taken over all his duties. And perhaps because of the wisdom that came with age, her face had lost some of its former frankness and now gave off a more composed aura.
しかし何を話しているのだろう
But what are they talking about? I felt a prick of anxiety at that little question. Shino talking to Oka wasn't particularly strange. Though it wasn't every day, she still frequently came over to check up on things and to bring food over. I'd witnessed that a number of times myself. However, it seems Shino couldn't see me either, much to my sorrow, and thus at some point I started avoiding her.
それにしても
Still, though, the looks on their faces were tense. Just what could they be discussing? Just then...
それでね、オカ、
So you see, Oka.
昨日言ってた人、結局助からなかったわ。
In the end, the man I spoke about yesterday passed away. My heart pounded when I heard Shino grimly speak those ominous words.
死んだ
Passed away? What was happening here? A bad feeling crept down my back, and a chill ran over me like I'd broken out into goosebumps. There was a clear sense of unrest about. I got even closer to the two of them, held my breath, and listened in on the conversation. And then...
またですか
again.
これで今月だけで何人目ですか
How many does that make in this month alone?
もう20人は超えている。
It's already over 20.
私もジョーカーの医師や薬師にも掛け合ってみたけれど、こんな疫病は見たこともないって。正直お手上げね。
I myself spoke with the physicians and medicine men at the castle, but they all said they'd never seen a plague like this before. Honestly, they're at a loss.
そんな
No! Oka fell speechless and put her hands over her mouth, as if to say she couldn't believe it. If Shino was saying something that hopeless, then it must have been really bad.
何か良い治療法はないのですか
Are there no useful treatments out there?
近しい症状を出す疫病の薬を投与するとか、とにかくいろいろと試してみては。
We should be trying everything we can, like medicines for plagues with similar symptoms.
それもダメ。
That won't work either.
薬師の話を参考に、それこそ考えつく限りにやってみたけど、効き目なし。
The experts said they tried everything they could think of, but nothing worked.
それに薬は高価なものばかりだから、確証もないところにやたらと大金はつぎ込めない。
And because medicine is so expensive, they can't go sinking money into something they aren't sure will work.
文字通りの万策尽きた状態よ。
They've literally done all they can.
じゃあ他の感染者が助かる見込みは
Then, what are the chances of the other patients recovering?
残念だけど、現状では絶望的ね。
Unfortunately, it's hopeless right now. Oka gripped her sleeves, slumped her shoulders, and hung her head when she heard that. Unable to say anything to comfort her, Shino held her tongue with a grave expression.
疫病
A pandemic. Oh. It seemed the two of them were talking about a disease that was ravaging the village. And not only was it a mysterious plague, it also had a fairly high mortality rate. No, it was worse than that.
このままだと、この村は
If If this keeps up,
本当に滅ぶかもしれないわ。
if this keeps up, this village may be destroyed for real.
滅ぶ
Destroyed?
この病に感染してしまうと高い確率で死に至る。
Those infected with the disease have a high chance of dying.
しかも治療法は判明していない。
And no effective treatments have been identified.
一方で感染者の数は日々爆発的に増えている。
Meanwhile, the number of patients is skyrocketing day after day.
これだけ危険な条件が出揃っていると有効な対処法が見つからない限り最悪の事態もあり得るわ。
With all these factors against us, the very worst outcome could occur, so long as we can't find an effective treatment.
ただでさえ田畑水源地は病死した人の死骸で埋まって作物の見込みも絶望的だしね。
Even the crops and rivers are full of corpses of the diseased, so prospects for produce are also looking hopeless.
最悪の事態
The worst outcome?
みんな死ぬってことですか？
Do you mean everyone dying?
もちろんそうならないために全力を尽くしている。
Of course, we're doing all we can so it doesn't come to that.
これでもこの村を任せられている身ですもの。
As
なんとか他の可能性にもかけてみるつもり。
As I'm in charge of this village, I'm betting on us finding another way somehow.
だけど
But Shino stopped herself there. She didn't dare say the rest. No, it was clear from the look on her face that she didn't want to say it. Shino had just said they'd taken all possible measures, and knowing her, I knew she'd be running around all this time, even prepared to use her personal savings. But even so, it hadn't worked out, which meant the only way left was to abandon the village and find a new place to live. However, that truly was only their last resort. Even if the healthy evacuated the village, it was unlikely they'd be able to find a place that could house so many people. In fact, if there were already other people living there, it's clear there'd be strife for sure. Don't bring your disease here. We don't have the land and food to support refugees. It's very plausible that there would be deaths from more than disease for reasons like that. So much blood could be pointlessly shed. Even so, this village was descending into such peril that they'd have no choice but to select that terrible future.
何か他にいい手が見つかればいいんだけど今はまだ。
I hope we can find some other way, but for now...
あなたも気をつけなさいよ、オーカ。
You be careful, Oka.
今でこそ病気もなく元気だけれどもともと丈夫な体ではなかったのだからね。
You're healthy right now, but you've never had a particularly strong constitution.
昔の話ですよ。
That is all in the past.
ご心配には及びません。
You don't have to worry about me.
それに庄司は男だからいいとしても不安なのは風花よ。
Furthermore, while Shoji might be fine because he's a man, I'm concerned about Fuka.
この漢方薬無理を言って手に入れてきたから二人にも飲ませておきなさい。
I managed to pull some strings to get this Chinese herbal medicine, so please, make sure you and her take it.
気休めにしかならないかもしれないけどね。
Though it may bring nothing more than peace of mind.
すみません、お母様。
Thank you, Mother.
でも
Oh, but
私たちのことは大丈夫。なんとかやっているから。
we'll be fine. We'll get by.
子と孫の心配をするのは当然のことよ。
It's only natural to worry about your children and granddaughter.
それじゃまた来るわ。
Alright then. See you later. Shino handed over a medicine pouch with those parting words, gave Oka a light tap on the shoulder to cheer up, and then left. Oka silently watched as she descended the stone staircase. She sighed and looked up at the sky.
私はどうすれば。
What should I do? I could hear sorrow in her voice. She gripped the medicine pouch Shino gave her as she stood still by the shrine gate, looking so feeble that a gust of wind could knock her over. My heart wrenched when I saw that.
オーカ
Oka. Huh? I shifted into my physical body, approached her from behind, and called out. Oka looked over her shoulder at me and gave me a sad smile, as if she could tell just by looking at me that she wouldn't be able to pretend nothing was wrong.
羽生いたのね。
Hanyu, so you were here?
はい
Yes.
いつから？
Since when?
一人が死んだとシノが話したあたりからです。
Around the time Shino said that someone had died.
そう。
I see. Oka frowned again and hung her head without saying another word. She looked even smaller than she already was, and it hurt just to see how feeble she seemed.
大変な事態が起きているようですね。
It sounds rather bad.
私も今知ったの。
I only learned about it just now myself.
ただの季節変わりの風邪だって聞いていたのだけどね。
I'd heard there was some sort of seasonal cold going around.
お母様が私に心配をかけないように
But
話を小さくして伝えてくれていたみたい。
Shino apparently kept quiet about it so as not to worry me.
だけど
However, I could figure out the rest for myself. The fact that Shino had already come clean with Oka meant she had already prepared herself. In other words, she was ready to take their last resort, to leave Onagafuchi village and find a new home. So long as the source and cause of the illness remained a mystery, it wasn't safe to keep staying in the village, so all they could do was evacuate the healthy villagers.
しかしそれを話せばオオカはきっと反対する。
But Oka would have been against it if she'd been told. There was no way that Shino didn't know how attached Oka was to this village. That was why she kept trying to find whatever other ways she could until the very last minute. And it was because Oka could understand what a harsh and painful decision it was that she couldn't bring herself to reject Shino's proposal.
この村を出ていかなきゃいけない。
We'll be leaving this village. We have to leave.
父様と母様が守ったこの村を私たちは捨てて。
We'll abandon the village my mother and father protected.
オオカ
Oka.
羽生はどうするの？
What would you do, Hanyu?
そうですね。
Good question. Onagafuchi village held a lot of memories for me too. Riku, Shino, Ryu, and Uka. The memories of the times I'd spent with them were the most precious in my life. However, even if the village was abandoned and became a ghost town, it wouldn't prove all that much of an obstacle for my mission. I'd be sad, of course, but Ryu's functions were still operating for the time being, and there were other Linoses around the land. Besides, even in the event that Oka and her family left the village, I'd go with them. Then, as long as they could find a new home, I intend to assist them with their lives there.
私は今この村のではなくあなたの守り神です。
Right now, I have the guardian deity not of this village, but of you.
ですからこれからもあなたと共にいるつもりですよ。
So I intend to remain with you.
ありがとう。
Thank you. Oka smiled happily when she heard that, but her face was sad and feeble. She probably felt that my presence would soothe her, but what she wanted was clearly something else. And it seemed that she had already realized that it was something she had to acknowledge as well.
あなたには本当にいろいろと助けられたわ。
You truly have been a great help to me.
8年前だって。
Like 8 years ago.
そうだわ。羽生。
That's right. Hanyu.
はい。
Yes? Just then, Oka suddenly jolted her head up, spun around and faced me. Her eyes were full of hope and expectation. And since this reaction had been triggered by the words 8 years ago, I could guess what she was about to say.
お願い。
Please,
あなたの力もう一度私に貸してくれない？
would you lend me your power one more time?
何でしょうか？
How so?
薬を作ってほしいの。
I want you to take some medicine.
村人のために。
For the villagers?
ええ、そうよ。
Yes, that's right.
子供の頃死の病にかかった私を救える薬をあなたは作ってくれたでしょ？
When I was a child, you made medicine that saved me from the fatal illness, didn't you? 8 years ago, Oka was suddenly bedridden with illness. The disease was so serious that it caused the whole body to break out into rashes, maintain a long fever, and eventually turned from labored breathing to respiratory failure, leading to death. There was no treatment or medicine for it. Victims would spend 2 or 3 weeks towing the line between life and death, use up all their stamina until their fever broke, and the majority would die of exhaustion. That was the sort of illness it was. So, when Oka came down with the illness, the villagers quarantined her and didn't dare approach her for fear of getting infected. Only Shino tried to nurse her back to health with no fear of the illness, but Uka politely refused, not wanting to get her sick too. And so I watched over Uka in her bedroom until I couldn't watch any longer, decided to use Ryu's remaining functions to create medicine for her. Ryu.
死の病から運よく生還しても
All these vowels are
その者
sabotaging
の
me.
体には醜い跡が残ると聞いていた。
I heard that even those fortunate enough to survive the illness end up with hideous scars.
だけどあなたの薬を飲んだ私は何の跡も残ることがなかった。
But your medicine didn't leave any scars behind.
だから私これが神様の力なのかと驚いたわ。
So I was surprised. I felt I'd truly seen the power of God. Oka wasn't the only one surprised. Everyone thought she'd never recover from the illness, only for her to rebound healthy as ever. The whole village was astonished, as if they'd seen a ghost walking around in broad daylight. Shino herself trembled in shock when she heard about Oka's recovery, but once she saw for herself Oka was alright, she broke down crying and hugged her so tight you'd think she'd never let go. The story spread around the village as a miracle of Oishiro-sama, leading to increased donations and faith in the shrine.
あの時のようにあなたの神様の力を使って今この村で流行っている病を治す薬を作ることはできない？
Couldn't you use that godly power from back then to create a cure for the illness spreading through the village?
どうなの、羽生？
Well, Hanyu, I'm not a miracle worker.
できます。
I could.
だったら村人全員分の薬を作ることもできるの？
Then, can you make enough medicine for the entire village?
はい。
Yes. I could go to Onigafuchi and use Ryu's remaining functions to analyze the plague and create medicine. That's all it would take. The illnesses of this world were surprisingly simple and frail. Therefore, by mixing local plants and extracting the components from them, I could easily cure them. The village would likely be saved without any suffering. It would require a lot of them to make enough medicine for all the villagers, but with enough time I could definitely cure them. However...
よかった。
Oh, thank goodness.
それならお願い、羽生。
Then please do so, Hanyu.
この村を救うために薬を作っ
Make medicine to save the village.
できません。
I cannot. Huh?
申し訳ありませんが、それはできません。
I apologize, but I cannot do that. Oka looked back at me in shock. Though she had been begging me, deep down she probably hadn't expected me to refuse. After all, I'd done everything she asked of me up until now. Some of her requests had been difficult, but I would take them on so long as I was capable of it, even if it meant pushing myself, and I never regretted it.
だけど、
But even I had things I could not do, because I was not a real god. If I were a god, I would have no fetters, behave however I pleased, and do anything at my own discretion. However, I had fetters. No, it's precisely because we were omnipotent in this world that we had taboos.
そんな
That can't be.
どうして
Why?
どうしてなの、羽生？
Why, Hanyu?
それは私たちの掟だからです。
Because that is our law. An absolute law that had been placed on all Ryun when we immigrated to this world to coexist with native intelligent life and to never interfere more than was necessary. We Ryun came to this world simply to immigrate from a destroyed homeworld, not to invade. Therefore, we advocated coexisting with the natives, and even those who lost their bodies nominally descended to this land via co-prosperity through assimilation and began living new lives. Any Griffiths who exhibited radical or invasive behavior were subjected to elimination in light of that law, and I hunted them down as part of my duty. But on the other hand, using Ryun technology to solve problems unrelated to Griffiths was sternly admonished as slighting this land's culture and casualty. As a result, even if it was possible... Causality. As a result, even if it was possible for us to save humans from rampant diseases and natural disasters, we never once lent them a hand.
オーカ、
Oka.
人には運命というものがあります。
Everyone has a fate.
あなたの病は本来時間をかければ治るものでした。
Your illness would have normally healed with time.
ただ、それまでの間、そして治ってからも苦しい思いをさせるのが忍びなく、私はその手助けをしただけ。
But I couldn't bring to let you go through that pain during and after the illness, so I simply lent a hand. Though actually, that wasn't true. Aoka would have almost certainly died from that illness. However, I decided to use the loophole in the law to give Aoka Ryun medicine. Aoka was half Ryun, therefore she had the right to take our brethren's medicine. Call it a selfish interpretation if you will, but I still took that action to save Aoka's life. Naturally, I never told Aoka about that, and so couldn't afford to make this current case an exception.
しかし、この病を根絶すれば、本来死すべき者が生き、定められた運命に逆らうことになりましょう。
However, if this disease is eradicated, those who are supposed to die will live, and they will defy their designated fates.
それは、この世界に移住した私たちには許されない行為なのです。
That is something that we as immigrants to this world cannot allow.
なら、この病で村人が死ぬのは運
Then
命だというの？
are you saying that it's fate that the villagers die from this illness?
この村が滅びてなくなるのは仕方がないことだっていうの？
Are you saying that's only natural for this village to be destroyed?
そうとは言いません。
That's not what I mean.
ただ、
It's just...
ただ、何？
Just what?
人の命を救わず見捨てることにどういう理由があるのよ？
What reason could you possibly have to leave people to die? I instinctively flinched when Uka retorted in an enraged tone. She wasn't wrong. You didn't need a reason to save lives, because that is the conscience that proves we were born with reasoning and the least commitment we can make to live with others besides ourselves. People may be saved by others in times of distress, so if you expect that goodwill from others, then you should do the same should you find the shoe on the other foot. That is a moral doctrine that requires no religious maxim to understand, and is why humans are able to live in groups with others who have different values from themselves.
ねえ、羽生。
Tell me, Hanyu.
必要とされることをやって、できることをやって何がいけないの？
What's wrong with doing what you can to help in times of need?
どこがおかしいの？
What's so strange about that? Strong.
それに、掟や決まりは人が幸せに暮らすために定められたものなのでしょ？
Besides, laws and rules are made so people can live happily, right?
だったらどうしてあなたの言う掟は人が不幸になることを是とするのよ？
Then why does this law you speak of promote misery?
王か。
Oka.
羽生、あなたは病を治すことができるのでしょ？
Hanyu, you can cure the illness, right?
薬を作ることができるのでしょ？
You can make medicine for it, right?
だったらどうしてそれをやってくれないの？
Then why won't you do it?
あなたの力で亡くならなくてもいい命が救われてこの村が滅ばないで済むのよ。
Lives that don't have to be lost can be saved with your power, and then the village won't be destroyed, right?
それなのに
So why? Should have just said you couldn't help her. Say that you couldn't have done it. It would have been a lot easier here. Oka's, if you're already lying to her about some aspects of this whole deal, you know, just fucking lean into it. Oka's words were right and just. Then I remembered how I once had challenged the Ryun elders and Ryu on the same thing. Flashback.
我らハイリュウンを名乗る者はリュウンの民とこの世界の人間たちの融和と安寧を図るのがその役目と義務であったはず。
And us, Hai, the self-proclaimed Hyrunes who are supposed to have the role, and obligation to strive to bring peace and harmony between the Ryun clan and the humans.
武力の発展が文明を育てるか。
Military development fosters civilizations, huh?
だが、それまでに出なくてもいい犠牲が生まれ、血が流れる。
But the blood of unnecessary sacrifices spilled until then. That is why I did what I could to protect my brethren and the natives. The duty assigned to me in accordance with that goal was to hunt Griffiths. So even if I did save people with medicine made with Ryun technology, the result would be the same, wouldn't it? The only difference would be that the threat was an illness, not Griffiths. One could very well make that argument. However...
王か、あなたは人を救うということをまだよく分かっていませんね。
Oka, you still do not have a proper understanding of what it means to save people, do you? Huh?
あなたの言う通り、私の処方した薬でこの地に蔓延している病を駆逐することは可能だと思います。
Just as you say, I believe it is possible to exterminate the illness ravaging this land with my medicine.
ですが、田畑はどうです？
But what of the crop fields?
シノの話だと、 病で息絶えた人や動物の死骸で村の水と土は激しく汚染されているとのこと。
According to Shino, the diseased corpses of humans and animals are seriously polluting the village's water and earth.
ということはおそらく今年は例年以上の大凶作となる。
Which means that this year will likely be more atrocious than usual.
この食料不足の問題に対してあなたはどのような対策を講じるつもりですか？
What measures do you plan to take to address this food shortage problem?
それは
Well... Ouka managed to barely swallow her words and awkwardly looked away. She didn't even need to say it. She'd probably come to me again asking for my help in providing food. That was simple to imagine even now.
もちろんその時になって助けを求められても私ならあなたの期待に応えることができます。
Of course, even if you come to me for help again at that time, I'll be able to live up to your expectations.
この村すべての人たちが1年間食いつなげるだけの量はなんとか揃えてみせましょう。
I'll manage to somehow scrounge enough food to last all the villagers a year.
でもその後病と飢饉で同様に苦しんでいるであろう周辺の集落が鬼ヶ淵村には食料があると聞きつけたら
But its
どのよう
surrounding
なことが起こりますか？
settlements suffer from similar disease and famine. Hear that there's food in Onigafuchi village. What'll happen? Ah, she's using the old slippery slope argument. Those people would almost certainly beg Onigafuchi village for aid, but this village obviously wouldn't be able to provide others with food when they barely had enough to get by as it was. So naturally, conflict involving the food would arise, and in the worst case scenario, would lead to stealing and massive bloodshed, which would be larger in the end, the number of casualties from that, or the number of casualties who were originally supposed to die of the illness.
分かってください、オーカ。
Please understand, Oka.
過ぎたる技術や得意な恵みはかえって無用な争いを呼び不幸の元ともなりかねない。
This advanced technology and unique blessing will only bring forth unnecessary conflict and misery.
村人すべてを本当の意味で救うというのならばその先のことまで考えを巡らせなくてはいけないのです。
If you want to truly save all the villagers, you need to consider what will come afterwards.
ただこの病をこの村から追い出しただけで済む話ではないのです。
It won't just end with the extermination of the illness from this village.
そうね。羽生の言う通りだと思う。
You're right. I believe it's just as you say.
分かっている。それくらいは理解できるつもりなの。
I know. I like to think I understand that much. But, Uka said, raising her head, she wore the saddest expression I'd ever seen from her. In it dwelled a sense of powerlessness, and a hatred and resentment of irrationality.
あなたが以前に奇跡を見せてくれたから私はそれに頼ってしまいたくなった。
Since you previously showed me a miracle, it made me want to rely on that.
自分たちだけなら諦めてしまったこともあなたなら何とかしてくれるかもって思って信じて期待して。
I believed you could do something we would have no hope of doing on our own, and that gave me faith and hope.
オーカ。
Oka.
期待してはいけなかったの。
Is it wrong to get one's hopes up?
あなたに頼ってはいけなかったの。
Is it wrong to rely on you?
何もできなくて諦める絶望とできるのに使えない悔しさはどっちが辛いと思う？
Which do you believe is more painful? The resignation and despair of being powerless, or the frustration that you can do something but are in no position to do it?
それは
Well,
こんなことなら奇跡なんて知りたくなかった。
if I'd known it would come to this, I wish I'd never known of miracles. Ooh, ah!
あなた
Ow,
の
that
頂
stings.
上の力の存在を
Oh,
私は知りたくなかった。
I wish I'd never known of your supernatural powers.
そうすれば諦められたのに仕方ないって自分を納得させられたのに。
That way, I could convince myself that there was nothing that could have been done, even if it meant giving up. That one stings. Oka's words painfully cut me deep to the core. Was she saying it was a mistake to learn of my existence? That she wouldn't hope for miracles if she hadn't met me? It sounded as though she begrudged and denied our chance meeting, which made me sad.
奇跡は
Guilt
実
trip,
際
guilt
に
trip,
起きた
guilt trip.
瞬間から
Mean mommy, mean mommy. The moment a miracle actually occurs, it ceases to be a miracle. I knew it was too late, but I ruminated over the warning the elders had given me. That which was meant to die wouldn't die. That which was meant to be destroyed wouldn't be destroyed. That act would truly destroy the law of cause and effect and make light of the native civilization. But if you abused powers considered supernatural in this world and made them possible, those who benefited and suffered from them would come to mistake them for inevitabilities. Any technology or knowledge that easily alters the future without verification and understanding has a high risk of causing problems. In fact, there had been those who'd sought them and caused conflicts. Therefore, it was strictly forbidden to intervene with problems meant to be resolved by the natives, and I'd indeed done that before. Though it was only a small scale, the one who'd violated that law was none other than me. And my mistake of carelessly giving Oka hope was the cause of her current despair.
ごめんなさい、オーカ。
I'm sorry, Oka. Oka kept biting her lip, turned around, and hung her head in response to my apology. If you're sorry, then help me out. Her feeble, trembling back seemed to be saying that. Even so, just then. Mother? Huh? The little girl suddenly ran out of the forest and raced over to Uka as soon as she saw her. This girl was Fuuka, Uka's daughter. That face of hers that so resembled a young Uka was met with tears and full of fear.
Fuuka, どうしたの？一体。
Fuuka, what's wrong?
大変なのです。お父様が。
It's terrible. Father is... Huh? Oh boy.
あなた。
Darling.
どうしたのですか？あなた。
What's the matter, darling? Realizing Fuuka's panic wasn't normal, Uka hurried back to the estate, got up on the veranda, opened the door to the living room, and became shocked. Shoji, Uka's husband who had only come home yesterday, was lying on the tatami floor with a look of agony on his face, groaning as sweat rose to his forehead. Darling? Father! Stay back! Don't get near me! What? When he saw his wife and daughter trying to run over to him in a panic, Shoji mustered his voice and shouted at them. And then...
Oka!
Oka, please take Fuuka and get out of this house!
どうしてそんな。
What? Why would I... Oka looked like she was about to cry when her husband suddenly told her to get out, but when she saw Shoji's face, she gasped. Unfocused eyes, unnatural levels of sweat, and jaundice that covered his face.
まさか。そんな。
No, it can't be.
早く出て行くんだ。
Hurry up and go.
さんに連絡して、お前たちはその先本家へ行け。
Hurry up and go. Contact my mother and head for the Sonozaki residence.
そんな。
No,
そんなことできるはずが。
I couldn't possibly.
いいからやるんだ。お前と風花にこの病を移すわけにはいかない。
Just do it. I'll be damned if I get you and Fuuka sick too.
あなた。庄司兄様。
Darling, dear Shoji.
お父様。お父様。
Father. Uka desperately grabbed Fuuka as she kept trying to run over to her father, all the while standing still and sobbing with none of her usual composure anywhere to be found. Impossible. To think my husband would catch the plague.
このままじゃ。このままじゃ。庄司兄様は。
At this rate, my dear Shoji will... Shoji. Horrifying images flashed through my head. Shoji had doted dearly on Uka ever since he was a child. He was a kind brother. Even after she started living at the Furude house, he'd get worried and come over to check on her and help her with the housework many a time. And after they got married and he became her husband, he was always considerate of Uka and helped her with her shrine duties. Someone that dear and irreplaceable to me is going to die? Going to leave me? No, I don't want that. I can't accept it. I don't want to accept it. With that thought, Oka told Fuka to stay still in the garden and ran over to the shrine grounds to see the only one who had the power to salvage the situation. Hanyu!
Oka?
Oka. I was sitting on a stone in the shrine grounds when Oka suddenly ran over to me gasping for air, her hair disheveled. For a moment, a look of hesitation appeared on her face when she remembered what happened earlier, but she shook it off, got on her knees, and bowed down before me, her head on the ground. Please, Hanyu, please! My husband, Shoji, please save Shoji! I gasped, overwhelmed by her intensity. But judging from how Fuka had been acting earlier, and Uka's panic and plea, I quickly understood the situation.
Shoji があなたの夫が感染したのですね。
Shoji, your husband has caught the illness, hasn't he?
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい、羽生。
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Hanyu.
私は薬をみんなに配ればこの村から病気がなくなって全てが解決すると思っていた。
I thought that everything would be resolved if you gave everyone medicine and rid the village of this illness.
だからあなたに指摘された時、本当はあなたにじゃなくて自分に腹が立った。悔しかった。情けなかった。
So when you pointed out the flaws in that logic, I was angry not with you, but myself. I was bitter. I felt so pathetic.
みんなを救うってご大層なことを言っておきながら、そこまで考えが至らなかった自分が浅ましくて愚かしくて。
I was a shallow fool for talking so grandly about saving all the villagers when I didn't even stop to think through the consequences.
あなたの言う通りよ、羽生。
You were right, Hanyu.
私は本当の意味で村の人たちを救う配慮も覚悟も全然足りていなかった。
I didn't have the forethought or the resolve to truly save the villagers.
Oka.
Oka. And yet, when I was shown just how little thought I'd put into any of it, my mind went blank and I got confused. I instinctively flew out the handle and even had the gall to sink as low as to blame the one who'd pointed that out to me. Some daughter of the Furudes I am, some reincarnation of Oshiro-sama I am. For all I admired my parents for, I completely failed to understand the essence of any of it. When I heard Oka constantly blaming herself like that, my heart stung. She truly was a kind girl, because even though I was the one who led her astray, she regretted her own mistake, reflected on it, and was able to apologize.
でもあの人は違うの。
But it's different with him.
庄司兄様、この村を少しでも豊かにしようと懸命になって農学を学ぼうとしている。
Shoji's been doing his best to study agriculture, to try to bring even a little more prosperity to this village.
私よりもずっと鬼ヶ淵村のみんなの幸せのために頑張っている人なの。
He's worked much, much harder than me for Onigafuchi Village's happiness.
だから死なせたくない。
So I don't want to let him die.
絶対死んでほしくないの。
I don't want that. Not at all.
お願いします。
Please.
もし運命が人の命を必要としているのなら、
If
その
fate
人の代わりに私の命を持って行ってください。
if fate needs someone's life, then please take my life in place of his. Alright, can I be 100% honest with everyone who's listening to this far deep into this stream so far? I'm losing attention. This has just been, this stretch, this past hour and 40 minutes or so has just been, it's too much Oka crying, unfortunate circumstances, crying to Hanyu now. Oh, please help us. Oh, please save me. I'm like, this stretch has not been great, in my opinion. This character of Oka, who we basically mostly just met, you know, as a character, even, you know, yesterday, last night. It's just like, I'm like, oh, okay, God, okay. I don't know. It's to me, this has just not been very extremely interesting. It's not been extremely interesting is how I'd put it. Anyway. That's my harsh take right now. So please save him. Please. I'm begging you. Oka's voice was so choked with tears she couldn't even speak anymore, but she kept prostrating herself and begging. As I silently watched that, I realized once again how much Oka cared for Shoji. Please. I'm begging you, please save Shoji. Hanyu!
風花はどうするのですか？
What will Fuka do?
あの子には母親が必要ではないのですか？
Does she not need her mother?
父親だって必要です。
She needs her father.
それに私のように視野の狭い親のもとで育つよりも庄司兄様なら
And I'm sure
きっと
And I'm sure Shoji would be able to do a finer job of raising her than a short-sighted mother like me. I'm sure of it. Honestly, I'm kind of on Hanyu's side. Maybe it's harsh to say, but like, fuck. Tragedies happen. You can't just be like, man, it's kind of fucked to just be like, hey, I know that I've got this in my back pocket. This godlike supernatural powers that I could just rely on to, at first, yeah, save the villagers. Ooh, save my husband. It's like, come on. Come on now. When I heard that, I recalled how Riku had once said something similar. Yes, now that I think about it. He told me something when I was pregnant with Oka. That to marry someone and deny the life you were blessed with would be to deny yourself. It was just like then. I didn't want Oka to deny her meeting with me. And I didn't want to deny my reunion with her either. In that case, what I needed was resolve. To not let a new tragedy occur through my choices, and to accept it and take responsibility for it all the way to the end, even if it did come to pass. I steeled that resolve. Oka. I gently called out to her as I took a medicine pouch out of my sleeve. Then I knelt down on the ground right next to the groveling Oka and held it out to her. Huh?
解熱と鎮静の薬です。
This is fever medicine and a sedative.
この世界の人間にも効くと思いますので、彼に飲ませてあげてください。
I believe it should be effective on humans of this world, so please give it to him. Hanyu.
薬が出来上がるまでに力尽きては意味がありませんから。
It won't mean anything if he exhausts himself before the medicine is ready.
夜明けまでには間に合うと思いますので、それまで何とか持たせてください。
I believe I should be able to make it by dawn, so please do what you can to help him out. Hold out until then.
それじゃ
Just getting bailed out. Then, I shrugged as I quietly, yet affirmatively nodded. And Hanyu's only doing it because she doesn't want her actual daughter, who she doesn't want to come out to be as, you know, mother-daughter. She doesn't want that to be revealed. She feels guilty. This is ultimate guilt trip. I don't know. I don't know why it bothers me so much. And once I saw Oka's eyes shining with hope in addition to tears, I was convinced I wouldn't regret this choice.
でも忘れないでくださいね。私の言ったことを。
But please, do not forget what I said.
それからオーカ。
And one more thing, Oka.
はい。
Yes?
久しぶりに薬の処方を行いますので、少々量を間違えてしまうかもしれません。
It has been a long time since I made medicine, so I may get the amount wrong.
その時は残った薬の処分をお願いします。
Should that happen, I'll leave the disposal of the extra medicine to you. Yes. I nodded to Uka again, turned my back on her, and left Furude Shrine. I headed for Ungafuchi, where Ryu's functions remained. Thank you. There. Guilt trip, guilt trip. The next morning, I took the medicine I'd used Ryu's functions to synthesize and handed it over to Uka. She gave it to Shoji on his sick bed, and even though he was slightly weakened, his condition improved, and he regained consciousness by the next day. Maybe I'm just bitter. about everything.
私は
Huh?
お父様、よ
Father?
かった。
Oh. Oh, thank goodness.
本当に、本当に。
Thank goodness, thank goodness. It went without saying that Uka and Fuka cried and rejoiced when they saw that. Afterwards, Uka distributed the medicine to the villagers. Though naturally, she couldn't very well say I'd made it, so she worked out a plan and told them this.
これは、お社様が私の枕元に立って、病から村の人々を救うために、その調合法を授けてくださったものです。
Oshiro-sama stood at my bedside and taught me how to prepare this medicine to save the villagers from illness.
ですから皆さん、これを飲んでください。
So please take this, everyone. It was an obviously fishy story, but with no other hope. The ill clung to it and recovered quickly. The people all rejoiced at this miracle and unanimously praised Uka.
さすがフルデの巫女様じゃ。
That's the Furude Miko for you.
我らをお救いくださる生神様よ。
She's a living god who saved us. Uka, who'd saved the village from destruction, was hailed as Oshiro-sama's reincarnation by the villagers, and the medicine was dubbed demon medicine. And those suffering from the same illness in surrounding villages came to Onikafuchi seeking the medicine, gave food and supplies to the village in response for their generosity. Their support was a blessing for the people of Onikafuchi, who had been struggling to secure food and their annual tribute due to the poor harvest. The village was saved, and Uka literally became the village's messiah. Uka rejoiced with a heartfelt smile of joy while surrounded by those villagers. It wasn't their praise that made her happy. No, what brought her joy was that she'd managed to protect her hometown, the town that held memories of her parents. And she'd proven that she was indeed the daughter of the two who'd saved the village.
ありがとう、羽生。
Thank you, Hanyu. Uka said that, took my hand and bowed deeply as we stood in the ritual storehouse. That smile likely shined with a joy greater than any I'd seen from her before.
大切なこといっぱい教えてくれて、
For saving so much I held dear.
私のために無理なお願いを叶えてくれて、
For granting my selfish wish.
本当に感謝しているの。
I don't know
本
how
当に。
I don't know how I can ever repay you.
そうか。
Uka. Then Uka smiled at me with her eyes held a gentle yet firm conviction and spoke.
誰かのために優しくなることの意味、
I finally feel like I
私は
understand.
やっと分かったような気がする。
I finally feel like I understand what it means to be kind for others.
だからこれから私もっともっと村の人たちのことを考えて、みんなの幸せのお手伝いができるよう頑張るわ。
That's why I'll do a lot more thinking about the people of this village. I do my best to help them find happiness.
できればあなたに頼りすぎないよう自分自身の力でね。
Not by relying too much on you, but with my own strength if possible. Oh yeah, you say that now.
そうですか。
You say that now! I see.
あなたのその思い、私は誰よりも応援していますよ。
I shall support you in that endeavor, more than anyone else.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
これからも私のそばにいてね。
Please continue to stay with me.
あなたは本当に私にとってかけがえのない人だから。
You really do mean the world to me.
え
Yes,
え、もちろんですよ。
of course. But for some reason, even though I should have been thrilled to be thanked by Uka and seeing her as happy as it was contagious, and seeing her so happy that it was contagious, I couldn't stop feeling anxious. It was a small sense something wasn't right. No, of displeasure, perhaps.
どうして？
Why? What was I afraid of? Why did I need to feel worried? Uka was only going to find more and more happiness from now on. She'd fulfilled her long-time dream of protecting the village. So why? Just what was this discomfort? For some reason I couldn't help but get a bad feeling in the face of the scene that should have been brimming with joy. Ugh, me and you both. I don't know. I feel like this arc started so interestingly and has had a lot of down moments, like, throughout this thing, you know? Swordsmanship 101 beginner's course. Okay, we'll read that. We'll read it. Get me in.
剣術をですか？
Huh? Swordsmanship?
はいなのです。
Yes!
ぜひとも神様のその技、僕にも教えてくださいなのです。
Please teach me your skills, God.
それは
Well... I was curious what she was so eager to ask me about, but swordsmanship of all things. Even I couldn't answer right away, instead trying to figure out Uka's game. Just the other day, I practiced my sword skills on the shrine ground so I wouldn't get rusty in this peaceful time where there hadn't been any recent Griffiths activity. Uka happened to be cleaning the shrine and saw me, so I performed a little sword dance to entertain her. But I wasn't expecting her to tell me she wanted to learn it. I regretted my carelessness in stoking a child's pure curiosity.
オーカ、言っている意味が分かっているのですか？
Uka, do you understand what you are saying?
あなたは仮にもこのフルデ神社の巫女。
You're the Miko of Furude Shrine, even if you are a child.
巫女とは本来、殺生などの汚れを最も忌み嫌うべき立場のはずです。
Mikos are supposed to abhor impure actions such as killing.
それがなぜ人斬りの道具の技を磨きたいと？
So why would you want to learn the skills of a tool used to kill humans?
お願いなのです。
Please?
神社に泥棒が入らないように、僕も剣術を学んでおきたいのですよ。
I want to learn swordsmanship too, so no burglars break into the shrine.
泥棒？
Burglars?
この村にも最近、外から移り住んできた人が増えてきました。
Lately, there have been more people moving into this village.
人を疑うのはよくありませんが、せめて万一の時のために、僕の身は僕自身で守る術を身につけておきたいのです。
It's wrong to doubt others, but I want to learn the skills to protect myself in the worst case scenario.
ダメなのですか？
Am I asking too much?
いえ、ダメというわけではありませんが、今でも私があなたの身の安全を守っているつもりです。
No, you aren't, but I plan to keep you safe even now.
その必要はないのではありませんか？
Doesn't that make it unnecessary?
でも、神様も時々、この村を留守にすることがありますです。
But you leave this village from time to time.
神様にも大切な仕事があるのですから、いつまでも頼りきりは良くないと思ったのですよ。
You have important work too, so I don't think it's good to rely on you forever. Ironic. I immediately smiled at her kind consideration, but on the other hand, those feelings were all the reason I didn't think I should teach her. So I resolved to give her a little stern instruction, took the sword from my waist, and handed it to Uka. Me?
オーカ、
Uka.
その剣を抜いて私に切りかかってきなさい。
Draw that sword and attack me. Huh?
さあ、オーカ。
Go on, Uka. A bewildered expression rose to Uka's face as she looked back and forth between the sword and me. Still, I remained still and silent right where I was standing, so she reluctantly drew the sword from its sheath and pointed it toward me with faltering footing.
さあ、かかってきなさい。
Now, come at me. Meep. I easily swatted Uka's hand away when she thrust at me with all the youthful courage she could muster. She fell on her butt on the spot from the excess momentum, sword falling and rolling on the ground behind her.
よく覚えておきなさい、オーカ。
Remember this, and remember it well, Uka.
剣術とは、己を守るのではなく、相手を殺す技です。
Swordsmanship is not for protecting yourself, but killing your opponent.
そして、稽古の最中に、相手かその周囲のもの、あるいは自分自身をも傷つけ、最悪の場合、命を奪うこともある。
And in the middle of training, you can hurt your opponent, those around you, or even yourself, or worst case scenario, get someone killed.
ですから常に相手を傷つける覚悟を持っていなければならない。
So you must always possess the resolve to injure your opponents.
生半可な気持ちでやれるものではありませんよ。
You can't go into it half-hearted. Oka's adorable eyes dampened as she looked at the ground. Seeing her on the verge of tears broke my heart, but it was for her own good that I drilled in a harsh lesson like this right now. With that thought in mind, I tried to walk over to make sure Oka wasn't hurt when...
もう一度
One more time. Huh?
もう一度やらせてください。
Please, let me try one more time.
お願いなのです。
Please, please, Hanyu.
いいでしょう。
Very well.
さあ、いつでもかかって。
Now come at. Ta! Oka picked the sword off the ground, then raised it high overhead with no hesitation and charged with a determined expression. I gasped and froze at this unexpected turn of events for a moment, but it was only that, a moment. Meep! I swung my arm in the same way and knocked the sword out of Oka's grasp. However, I must have miscalculated my strength as the blow sent her flying and rolling on the ground harder than before.
ごめんなさい、オーカ。
I'm sorry, Oka.
大丈夫ですか？
Are you alright?
平気なのですよ。
I'm okay.
ニパ
Nipa. She wiped her dirty cheeks with her palm as she quickly got back up and smiled. Those eyes were full of a stronger and livelier shine than before.
羽生、もう一度なのです。
Hanyu, again, one more time.
今度はもう少し上手に。
I'll do better this time.
わかりました。
So be it.
そこまでの覚悟なら受けたまわりましょう。
If you are that determined, then I shall comply.
ただし、女子とか幼子だからといって容赦はしませんからね。
However, do not expect me to show any mercy because you are a girl or child. Huh?
じゃあ
Then,
それから言った以上は途中で投げ出したり弱音を吐いたりすることは許しません。
also, I will not allow you to give up or complain now that you have shown such insistence.
心してきなさい。いいですね。
Keep that in mind. Are we clear?
はいなのです。
Yes. Oka smiled from ear to ear as she bowed her head low enough to reach the ground. I shrugged as I saw that, then told her I'd go get a wooden sword and left.
信じられない。
I don't believe it. Oka's second blow was supposed to have been slow, but when I reached my arm out to knock it away, she saw that and changed the trajectory of her swing even though she could barely hold the sword right. What's more, she brought her left foot out ahead of her already extended right foot and used all her weight to change the direction of her body. That wasn't a standard sword strike.
偶然？
Was it a fluke?
それともまさか？
Or could it be? Or could it be? Oh shit. We know where this is building towards. Can't fucking wait to see. Can't wait to see the big payoff. Hopefully it's not any more of this, oh, just help, mom, I don't know is my mom, but probably know is my mom. Help me and my husband and villagers and all this. Cry, cry, cry. I'm being very harsh right now. I'm being very hateful. I'm so sorry. I can't help it. Sometimes it just comes out. It's always there. I'm always just usually have it pulled back. No one usually knows. Alright. I'm gonna hit I'm actually... Let's see. I mean, we still have the rest of the afternoon. We may even have... This might bleed into the night. I'm still not sure how we're gonna do this. But at the very least, I kind of want to switch over to Ghostwire to play that. It's kind of chill. A nice chill part. We'll do that. Try to advance the story quite a bit as much as we can. And then maybe we switch to a third game for the day, but not sure. We'll see. Kind of see what we do for how long we want to play Ghostwire and all that. So I'm gonna throw up a BRB. I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes to set it up and all, stretch my legs, and we'll be back shortly.